This presentation is a follow-up to Ian's earlier introductory presentation. I'll be talking about some of the challenges experienced in developing the lines of the sloop of war of 1673. My name is Alan O'Neill, and I'm a member of the Model Shipwrights of Niagara in Ontario, Canada. And I'm also a distant member of the Society of Model Shipwrights in the UK. Having seen one of my presentations showing how I had created 2D ship line drawings, Ian McLaughlin asked me if I would be willing to help him create an interpretive draft of the Pepsian sloop Bonetta of 1673. Ian has accomplished considerable research into the early sloops of war and published his findings in his book, Sloop of War, 1650 to 1763. Ian is a member of his home club, the Society of Model Shipwrights in the UK, and also a distant member of the Model Shipwrights of Niagara. I consider myself to be a novice model shipbuilder. I have over 30 years of mechanical drafting experience, beginning in pencil and ink, and ending my career working in 2D and 3D computer-aided drafting. In that time, I worked in teams, led teams, and worked directly with clients. There are no existing line drawings known for this period ship, but there are sketches and paintings. So of course I agreed to volunteer and assist in Ian's quest. I'm located near Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. Ian invited two others to join the group to help us keep on course. Effie Moneypenny is a private historian specializing in archival research, a founding member of the Stuart Yacht Research Group, and co-publisher of the Stuart Royal Yacht Fubs of 1682, along with multiple other research papers in the same time period. I was introduced to Effie by David and Cheryl in 2019 when they were working on the paper, A Restoration Yacht's Design Secrets Unveiled. David was deciphering John Wallace's paper dated 1684 on the Shipwrights circular wedge, a conoconeus shape that truly fascinated me. Effie is located in England. David Ancherl is a member of the Model Shipwrights of Niagara, a master modeler, researcher, and published author, including having co-authored the book The Stuart Royal Yacht Fubs of 1682, and I hope it's safe to say, is a friend of mine. He has been a tremendous help to me, the novice modeler. David, like myself, is located near Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. This became what I refer to as the A-Team. How to start? That was my first challenge. From experience, I knew I had one person to please, and that was Ian. My goal was to give him what he hoped for, or as best as I could. From day one, I identified him as the client. Ian provided a multitude of reference sketches and images of paintings. The team exchanged an abundance of emails discussing the references and the details on them. We had Zoom meetings to allow us to exchange thoughts face-to-face across the Atlantic, and I kept copious notes. Effie also provided a copy of the build contract dated 1690 for the Eaglet, a ketch man of war that proved to be a valuable resource for determining timber sizes. There are subtle differences between the sloops depicted in these figure 5 and 6. Mizzenmast, foretopsail, long bowsprit with jackstaff and flag on one, a continuous top rail on one, and the other has it stepped. Also the number of oar or sweep ports. These were the details we chewed over. I understood Ian wanted something more like figure 5, but later the foretopsail and extended bowsprit crept in. One has to be flexible and accepting of change. Also, patience is a virtue. Ian provided this sketch with the top of the oar or sweep ports butted up against the rub rails. This detail would later change because other references made in the time showed them lower. For those who are unaware, an oar is called an oar when one oarsman handles a pair of oars, pulling one with each hand, like in a small rowboat. When one oarsman handles only one oar, it's called a sweep. There is a suggestion of thwarts in the sketch, but none were shown on any of the paintings or sketches of the era. We later understood the oarsman stood facing forward. This image had a plan view and section added by Ian, showing how he envisioned the shaping of the hull. This sketch by Van der Velde the Younger shows something at the head of the stem post. Was it a bunched foresail, a crewman, or a figurehead? We could see the detail of the shroud deadeyes and channels, scuppers, and the cathead. The details of the stern were the source of many a discussion. The construction, the lights or the windows above, and the ports below. I might add that none of the reference images showed much in the way of deck furniture, such as winch, pumps, or hatches. The addition of these details would come from numerous discussions with Effie and David. Ian offered that the lines of the 32-foot longboat, or pinnace, were likely very similar to the 62-foot sloop of war, so this is where I started. I used DraftSight to create 2D drawings. As I understand it, DraftSight is a very early version of AutoCAD that was bought by SolidWorks, and they've been continuously working to improve the program. I imported the reference images, scaled them up to the proper length, and traced them so I could better appreciate the similarities and differences, and then blend them into one cohesive image. Here you can see my tracing of the pinnace lines with thwarts, before we agreed there weren't any thwarts. Here I have the image of Ian's sloop, then copied that tracing off to the right to compare it to the pinnace. Here I did some tracing and extension of the lines of the isometric sketches to try to get some reference dimensions for comparison. And so the lines of the sloop of war began to take shape. Here are the early stages of development of the body plan, aft of the dead flat on the left half and forward on the right half. David provided a sketch of how long an oar, or more properly a sweep, might need to be with the oarsman standing. By July, we had a single sheet drawing crammed with details. You'll note at this time the oarsman is standing and facing aft, not forward. DraftSight became my biggest headache. You will find yourself focused in one small area you're working on, and you are oblivious to the rest of the drawing. I discovered that for no apparent reason, the program would move lines on the drawing. The first realization this had happened was when the wreath around the gun port appeared high above the hull, in space. The lines in the half-breadth and their labels moved outboard of the whales. Labels on the body plan jumped away from the detail. Then I found the water lines had shifted in the shear plan. By this time, I had had enough and nearly lost it. It did allow me an opportunity to practice all my sailor words. I still had the attached JPEG images off to one side on the drawing, so I deleted them thinking this might be the issue. Too much memory needed for my aging computer. It still happened a few more times after that, so I still do not understand the cause. I suppose it might be a case of you get what you paid for. DraftSight is much less expensive than the latest version of AutoCAD. It was about this time Effie and David felt they had nothing more to offer, and other commitments were tugging at them, so they left the team. Ian asked his good friend John Garnish to join us, the B team, offering fresh eyes. Also, John might be building a model of the sloop using and proving the completed drawings. John is a member of the Society of Model Shipwrights in the UK and also a member of the Model Shipwrights of Niagara. John suggested the gun port was too low. The sweep or curvature of the top rail needed to be tempered. The steve or angle and the length of the bowsprit needed adjustment, and a few other suggestions that are reflected in this sheet, one of two, in the drawing package. You'll note the oarsman is now facing forward, and there is some ornamentation at the head of the stem. The extra details were moved to a second sheet to reduce the cluttered look. These included sectional views, anchor, sweep, gun, winch, riding bit and bowsprit step, hatches, yards, masts, and elm tree pumps. Presently, I'm waiting for the final list of adjustments so we can wrap up the project. That completes my presentation. Thank you.